Well, hello and welcome to another video by Financial Ernie. On today's video, we're going to take a look at CleanSpark Inc., the Bitcoin mining company. We're going to look at their public wallet address and we're going to see exactly what in the world's going on. Why do they have a 60% drop in just the past 3 days? So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, starting with the Bitcoin wallet address. If you've watched any of my other YouTube videos, you would have seen that I do reference this quite a bit. CleanSpark does put out these numbers every single day, and you can take a look as an investor and just understand exactly how they are operating. So taking a look at that January 20th date, you can see they're around 21.29. That is the average, or that's about the ballpark you would expect with the current hash rate that they have. So I was actually pretty anxious, excited. I thought maybe they would be able to get about a 22 Bitcoin daily mining average for the month of January. But after the 20th, you can see starting on the 21st, there was a significant drop. 21st was 16 Bitcoin mined. 22nd was 11.4 Bitcoin mined. And just today on the 23rd, there was 8.1 Bitcoin mined. So a lot of investors have been very anxious about the results for this and have taken it to social media to post and tag various employees at CleanSpark. And we did get a response from one of them. We got a response from Matthew. We'll go ahead and review that right now. All right, let's go ahead and read along. It says, as an ordinary function of our operations, CleanSpark Inc., we work with, in all caps, the utilities to curtail if and when necessary and in support of critical circuits. In our prior earnings calls, we've discussed that we expect to curtail about 100 hours plus or minus each year as an average. Temporary disruption in hash rate is perfectly normal, and making sure there's power for hospitals and schools at times like this is why we get such favorable rates the rest of the time. We're grateful to be able to help. So that was a pretty positive post. It does explain a lot behind the company's mentality, how they are really looking out for those rural areas, those locations around them. If you recall, if you've been invested or following CleanSpark, you would have seen they had some similar situations when that Hurricane Helene came through. They did something similar where they did shut down some of their operations in order to be able to provide better grid stability as there have been multiple power outages. So I like to take a look a little bit at some of those outages and look at exactly where CleanSpark is located with respect to the ongoing outages. And then we'll take a look at the weather for the next couple of days and see if we expect the times to change, the Bitcoin mining amount to change based off of that warming of the weather. All right, and this map actually comes from one of their latest investor presentations. We're not going to take a look at all of these states. I'm really going to focus in on Tennessee and Georgia. If you look at the mining locations as well as the megawatts for those specific states, that's why I'm taking the time to do this. If you look at New York, that was one of their co-host locations, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I did take a look at grid infrastructure. They have mining locations in Tennessee, but they also have one in New York. But just for all intention purposes of looking at the significant amount of hash rate per state, we're going to take a look at Georgia and Tennessee. Of course, I know that Wyoming is also online right now, but if you recall from the press release, it's only about 1 exahash. So compared to the overall exahash that CleanSpark has, it's kind of insignificant when you're looking at a 60% drop. So again, let's take a look a little bit deeper into Georgia and Tennessee. All right, this is from poweroutage.us. You can actually look up the power outages for the entire country. It's broken down by regions, and then you can dial it in by the specific states, and they do give you the power providers for those different states. So taking a look at Tennessee, there's only 54 total locations with power outages. So it's not a really significant impact in terms of power outage. Now, there's still a risk of grid instability. So if you think about it, with the temperatures the way they are, and we're going to cover what exactly that is in just a minute. But if you think about those temperatures, people are running their heaters up north nonstop, trying to keep their homes warm. That is quite a bit of power pull. So if, for instance, CleanSpark was to have their facilities running at full capacity, just what would that do to these specific states, to these specific cities? So we're not going to jump too much deeper into Tennessee because they don't have a lot of power outages at the moment. But I do want to look at Georgia because they do have a fairly significant amount of power outages in that state. All right, looking at Georgia, we're actually going to pull up the power provider, the largest power provider there in the state of Georgia, to get a better look at some of these outages. And then we're going to key in specifically at CleanSpark's different locations in the state of Georgia to see if those locations are currently under any form of power outage or if they are literally just keeping their facilities turned down in order to be able to support the greater state. So here you can see Georgia has 582 different locations that have called in and are currently under power outage. All right, taking a look at the state of Georgia. More specifically, this is Georgia Power, the electric company's outage map. And the legend down there shows you that those dark shades of green are locations 1 to 500 that are currently under outage. And the entire state of Georgia, according to that US website, showed a total of 584. Now, before we move on to CleanSpark's cities and look at those outage locations, I did want to remind you that the entire state of Georgia, specifically Georgia Power, the electric company, they rely heavily on grid stability in order to keep all of these homes in the state of Georgia fully powered on. So, if a very large power consumer, such as the Bitcoin miner, specifically CleanSpark, was to fully energize their locations, that would put a severe constraint on the state of Georgia, specifically on the energy grid. So I think that what they are doing is very smart and very diligent in terms of keeping good relations with the state and with the power providers. We would not want to see them get hit with a larger energy bill moving forward once this current contract is up. So as they keep these good relations, that does allow them to negotiate for lower power costs, which for an investor means they will continue to get that low cost to mine that Bitcoin. All right, and on this map here, you can see 4 out of 5 of CleanSpark's locations. I'll jump to the fifth one in just a moment, but I think it's pretty impressive to look at how far spread apart these specific cities are where these Bitcoin miners are located. And then the dark green area, this is the power outage location. So starting at that top left, that is Norcross, you can see it is not currently in a power outage area. However, there are quite a few locations nearby that are under power outage. And just remember, as I mentioned on the previous slide, Georgia Power does service the entire state. So when it comes to CleanSpark providing that support and powering some of those units down, that is helping the entire state, not just the areas that are currently under outage. Looking at this second one, if you look just south of Atlanta, there's College Park. Again, it's not currently under outage, however, is pretty close to some of those outage locations. And then moving over to the right-hand side, the upper right of this screen, you can see Washington City. That is another one of CleanSpark's locations. It is not under any form of a power outage currently. And then the bottom right has Sandersville. You can see also that that one does not have any power outage areas nearby. All right, and this is the second map here. I did leave a couple of the previous ones highlighted just to kind of show you geographically how far apart they really are. So at the top left, that is the new location. That is Dalton, Georgia. That is one of those 5 locations. And again, you can see there are no power outages near that location. But again, Georgia Power is providing energy for this entire region, this entire state, really. So, understanding that all of these megawatts are being used to provide the grid stability for the entire state. Just think if those were powered on, how many more power outages there may potentially be. And then looking down, there's Norcross, and then again, there's Washington, just to kind of put that into perspective, geographically speaking. All right, and taking a look at the current weather conditions as of this recording on January 23rd, let's take a look first off at Georgia. You can see there, they're around 33 degrees, just barely above freezing temperatures. And then moving up a little bit north, you can see Tennessee sitting around 37. So that is rather promising. Potentially, some of these areas may be starting to thaw out. But if you have been looking at the forecast, it is not good news. We will be seeing some additional temperature drops over the next few nights. So let's take a look. All right, and taking a look at tomorrow night, this is January 24th. Looking at Atlanta at a frigid 21 degrees and Memphis at 29, both of them sub freezing. So I think it's going to be critical to see how CleanSpark remains operational or not. And we'll have to take a look at that Bitcoin mining numbers when they come out for their wallet address to see if this is still going to be a continued concern. All right, moving on to January 25th. This is 2 nights from now. You can see Atlanta still sitting at 29 degrees and Memphis, though, warming up at 39 degrees. So starting to move in the right direction. All right, and taking a look on January 26th, this is about 4 days out. We're looking at Atlanta at 38 degrees with a chance of rain and Memphis at 34 degrees. Both of these locations staying above freezing. I think as these days get closer, it's going to be important to see if the temperature remains the same, if it gets higher or lower. And I'm really interested to see how CleanSpark's Bitcoin mining numbers look as we continue to see these low temperatures. All right. And taking a look at the 5 day forecast, this is on January 27th. This is a little bit further out, so I'm not going to go anywhere past this day. But take a look there at Atlanta at 37 degrees, starting to warm up just a little bit. And then Memphis is at 34, both of them staying above freezing. I think it's going to be important as these days approach. Will they stay above freezing? Will we see those Bitcoin mining numbers starting to get back where they belong in the 20 to 22 range? We'll have to wait and see. But I do think that it's going to be important that we continue to keep our eyes on both the temperatures as well as on the outage maps for these locations. All right, and that wraps it up for me, folks. Hope you enjoyed this quick little update on CleanSpark Inc. We took a look at those daily Bitcoin mining numbers. We saw that significant drop, about 60%. And then we finally did get an update from one of CleanSpark's executives, Matthew, explaining exactly what happened and why CleanSpark made the decision they did. I personally fully support the decision. I think it's important that a company puts the people first. And again, they have a really good relationship with their power provider that does help them keep those competitive costs. We do want to be able to see that cost of Bitcoin mining staying stable, not increasing due to the power provider getting frustrated with a company like CleanSpark that would put the Bitcoin mining numbers ahead of the rest of the people for the specific state. So, again, I think it's important. I hope you do too. If you like this update, please consider giving the video a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and drop a comment. What do you think? Do you agree with CleanSpark in shutting down some of these miners in order to provide better grid stability in these key states? And with all that said, I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you on the next one.